Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good evening and warm welcome to our fellow audience watching. My name is Nuriza.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alice Sarah. You can call me Alice. It's my privilege to be here with my partner Iza as your moderators for tonight. We're definitely delighted to welcome every one of you for tonight's talk session. Hope all of you watching have a coffee ready nice beside you while enjoying this session. Also, don't forget to like and share this live session, and you may stand a chance to walk off with our NALS merchandise as well. So share it to your families and friends.
Ladies and gentlemen, for your information, National Aspiration Leadership Summit (NALS) is a high-capacity summit catered for Malaysians from all over the globe. NALS is an inspiring event that provides a platform for participants to engage in dialogue sessions with prominent leaders, public figures, and youth leaders across Malaysia, with a common goal, which is for the betterment of our country, Malaysia.
Yes, exactly. And we are steamed to have all of you here at our third and final coffee talk session under Bunga campaign, a youth initiative to celebrate women's empowerment in conjunction with the International Women's Day.
Okay, so in order to end the Bunga campaign with a bang, we did save the best for the last. Please welcome our extremely remarkable guest speaker for tonight's session, which is Datuk Nicol Ann David, our former Malaysian professional squash player. So I'm glad to have you here with us tonight, Datuk.
Thanks so much for having me here. So nice to meet you both too.
So, on behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to you for making the time to attend this session.
Thanks so much. And also a happy International Women's Day / week / month.
It's every day here.
Yes, exactly.
Every day is our day.
Exactly. It's great.
Okay, so Datuk, before
Mhm.
getting deeper into
Yes.
the ingredients of tonight's topic, do you mind sharing to us and the audience on how the journey to Scotch made its way in the first place?
Well, in the beginning, when I was 5 years old, I started playing squash with my sisters. I have two older sisters, and there was a public squash center that was built by my dad's friend. And at the time, my dad is a sportsman himself, playing for Malaysia and football as a goalkeeper. So obviously, his friend invited him to get his daughters to play squash, and but my dad didn't actually sign me up. He signed my sisters up, and because I was too small, I was 5 years old, and the racket was too big for me at the same height as me. So I joined my sisters to the squash court, and I saw them play, and it was so much fun. I really was mesmerized by the game, and I told my dad straight away after that that day that I wanted to play squash with them. I want to be on that court. So obviously he found a way to get me a racket that was made for me. So he took his old wooden racket and made it smaller to so that I could play squash with my sisters. So that's how I started, and I really fell in love with the game straight away. And I saw myself getting better and improving. Um, Really fast, and I saw, oh yeah, I have a bit of potential here. So I kept playing, and I started playing competition around Malaysia, around outside of Malaysia, and before you know it, I was really hooked, and I didn't look back. I just became a professional squash player after school, and yeah, the rest is history.
Mhm. Okay, so after hearing your stories, did you
Mhm.
already have this in mind of becoming a professional athlete, or at first it's just like a hobby? Because like being a professional athlete is like a serious business. Because when heard your story just now, you are like you said that you have potential in it. So
Yeah.
do you like actually imagine that you're gonna be a professional athlete when you first start playing squash?
No, I actually just played it because it was so fun. I loved the game. I could run around because I was very hyper, so that was the perfect sport to play. And I just wanted to also hang with my sisters, meet new friends, and travel around Malaysia and around the world. So, but at the time, I didn't think about being a professional athlete. It wasn't in my head. I was just still studying. I was also thinking, no, I have to go to university and pursue my career there, my degree and in my career. But as I got better and I started winning big events like the World Junior title at 15 years old, or the Asian Senior title being at only 14, those things really triggered me to want more. So I thought, why not give myself a chance and play professionally after school? And my parents were very supportive with me in that next step that I wanted to pursue for myself and want to be the best in the world one day. So yeah, that's how I really started thinking about being a professional squash player. Not so far back, but only when I really achieved something, I felt that I could get somewhere with this potential.
Interesting. Your earlier story got me to question one thing, or rather
Mhm.
curious. Do you still have that first racket that your father gave you?
Yes, I do. My mom and dad really keeps it safely in their existing cupboard.
Really?
Yeah.
Now that's
There.
something.
Yeah, so yeah, they brought it out for a little photo session for the newspapers one time, but it's still there safely in the house.
That's really nice to hear.
Yes.
If not, it would be such a waste. And
Yeah, exactly.
other than that, do you believe that having women in sports, especially in Malaysia, provides a different kind of voice?
Like women in sport in Malaysia,
Mhm.
definitely. I think when I was starting off, it was just my sisters and I in the Penang State team playing squash. And right now, it's really has grown so much to see so many girls playing squash. There's like a queue waiting in line to pick up squash in Penang and also around Malaysia. So I think, and now I believe there's like 800 over juniors playing the sport, which is amazing. I think half of it is girls and half boys, but that is for me really shows how important it is that sport can impact children's lives. And for me in particular, when I had sport in my life growing up, it helped me become a better student. I learned all the values that sport has given me, to be disciplined, to stay focused, to learn teamwork and all these things that you don't really teach, you actually can gain from playing sports. So that is so important for women in sport, to start from young, from school, and having girls to play more sport in school. Hopefully, that will encourage them to be more confident by playing more competition, feeling great about themselves, and they don't have to fit a mold as an athlete. They can any girl can play sport. They just have to believe that they can do it, and it's not that they don't, there's no stigmatization on girls can't play sports. So let's hope that we can push that message forward, and also have the community to support that message too.
Yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned stigmatization, right,
Mm.
among young girls. And I think
Mhm.
that what leads to my next question is that when you were a little girl, because you did join pretty young, right? Do
Yeah.
you ever felt pressure by the narrow perspectives of feminine beauty when you were younger? Did the boys tease you at all, and did that bother you growing up?
No, actually, I just felt like I was one of the group. In my squash team in Penang, we were very close, like a family, and it was my sisters and the boys basically. So we were all like one, and there was no comparisons of, okay, you are a boy and I can't play with you, or the other way around, and you're not strong enough, because my sisters were beating the boys, and then we were eventually I was beating them. So it all worked out that way, and that's what we want to nurture. We want to create that environment that there is no difference to that. And yeah, so for me, I didn't have that feeling that it was any different. I just played, and I also trained a lot with the guys in my professional career as well, so I had a mix of both.
So, what is an example of success that you can admire from women's voices in sports in particular?
With with well, I love the fact that now we have more women role models that are standing strong and in sport, and they can actually have a voice to also get other girls to participate in sport and to also be yeah, strong in their own way. with 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 female role models in sport, it makes it easier to aspire to be like someone. And I think sport really captures that aspect of connecting people, connecting communities, and they are seen to push those barriers. So yeah, having those role models is crucial, and let's hope we can encourage more of the next generation to stand their grounds, not just for being an athlete, but also in their own field and whatever they take on, whether it's arts, whether it's music, whether it's like being an engineer. All these things can come with good leaders and good role models for them.
Oh, I see. That's really nice. And so to continue, our next question is, Datuk, so in your early days, while winning junior championship, you
Mhm.
did excel academically as well, right? So how do you encourage youth, especially young women, to venture into sports and become a professional athlete?
In the beginning, I think sport really helped me to become a good student. To be honest, I was
Really?
I was more focused in my studies. I had time had a skill to learn how to time manage better. So if I had time for my training, I put my full effort in that. And if I had my time for studying, I make sure I make the most of that little time I have and focus fully in what I was doing. And I think that helped a lot in my studying phase. And sport really was the key thing that helped me through and becoming a better student. So I encourage more um, for those who want to be an athlete in their own way in future. They have to start from young, play it for fun. That's the first thing that has to start from when you're young with your friends. Have fun with the game, and if you really love it, and try different things. Then when you find something that really clicks, just try it out even more. Maybe do some competition, and then you see yourself progress. And if that fire is still burning in your gut, then why not push it further and pursue it better by getting better coaches, getting like experiences outside your school or your state. And then you feel like, okay, I have this potential in me that I can push further. So I think it takes a bit of those steps before you can make those decisions to go, I want to give it a try and become an athlete and do it professionally. So if you have those feelings and those real turning points for yourself, then just give yourself a chance.
I see. So are you guys hearing that? To the audience, I hope you
Go
can
sign up
learn
now. Yes.
from you can learn from Dato Nicole herself. Just
Yes.
go for it. Just go and try everything. If you have any sports that you interested in, just go and try to like enter competitions. Who knows? You have talent in it, right?
And also for me, like my studies was very important. When I was
Mhm.
studying in school, I always made priority. I made my studies as priority. And when it came to exams, I had to put my sports on hold to really focus on my studies. So you can do the both. It's just a matter of
Mhm.
making sure you prioritize your studies first, and then when it comes to competition or something, then you can actually put a little bit more time there. But studies come first when you're in school.
Okay, nice, nice.
Hmm.
So next is, what is your unpopular opinion on gender stereotyping in sports?
Um, well, that's always gonna. I think that's always been there, and the having gender stereotypes that women will always have a little harder position to match up with the guys. But I believe now with globally is getting more attention. But there's still a long way to go in terms of getting more recognition. But the media and I think the commercial aspect of women's sport is starting to get more recognized when more women athletes are standing firm on their morals, on what they truly believe is right for them. And I hope that I can do the same in Malaysia and hopefully in a bigger picture as well. But in Malaysia, we are doing really good in terms of our nation always supporting our women athletes, especially myself, having the whole country coming to cheer me on and not even thinking otherwise because I brought the nation proud. And I think that's what we want to have, that culture around the world, to do that for women's sports.
Yeah, that's true. So,
Mm-hmm.
based on your explanation just now, so we are trying to like get the women to be recognized, right? To as the players, professional players and stuff. So what if like there's of course there will be some people or some group that still stereotyping the women abilities in sports, right? So
Mm-hmm.
in your opinion, how do we raise awareness on this?
We have to change a little bit of the context of why do we compare women and men directly. You know, we are two different categories but very strong in our own abilities. I always make an example about women's squash and men's
Mm-hmm.
squash, and it's like boxing. The women are the lightweights and the men are the heavyweights, and if you, but you can't put them together because it's not in their weight category. So if you put anybody else in that lightweight to try and compete against the women, then they're going to be knocked out. You know, they are so strong and they work this exactly the same amount of time and effort to just as the men. So I believe that we have to stop thinking that they are matched up like head on the same quality because they work just as hard as the men, and we should fully like acknowledge that and make it known even more so in our community and and more awareness online and social media.
Very insightful. So, to our audience watching, don't
Yeah.
forget to drop a question for Dato regarding our topic for today. And don't forget to like and share our live as well to win some great prizes.
Yep, definitely. Don't want to miss some great prizes, especially in this time of online, right?
Yes.
Getting a gift of is so much fun. uh,
Yes.
Dato, you mentioned earlier regarding about having the nation's support, and I was
Mhm.
just curious that in if you look on a deeper level, do you think female athletes are well taken care of in terms of welfare, and is our policies doing enough for the female athletes specifically?
In Malaysia, I believe so. I'm sure that, you know, for me and my own experience, it's been going very great in terms of getting the right funding, the support that I need, and everything that has come my way. I would have done it without the government support in my squash career, all throughout my juniors up to my whole professional career. They've supported me right through. So I think in that sense, the athletes that we have, whether they are male or female, they don't have any disparity. They all are treated the same, and I believe that our the sports associations are also giving that attention to their athletes in the right way when they continue to perform and when they continue to reach their goals. And but I'm sure there will be areas that we always continue to keep working towards to make sure that we get the right support and the right guidance for our athletes. We still have to nurture that way of not putting too much pressure, making sure that our athletes are always given that support that they need, because sometimes that's all they want. They don't need that extra push to do too much of that expectation. So I think that's all I think our athletes need, is that both ways, not just for women, but both men and women deserve that little extra support in the sense of not putting that pressure on them to always be compared to the next grade or like the other squash players that are compared to me. They are not going to be me. They just have to be themselves, doing their best in their own field. So I think we have to just work towards that in an overall picture.
So if we go further to what you said earlier, right? You
Yeah.
also mentioned funding and support, but you have been very vague about it. What are some
Yeah.
specifics about it?
Yeah. So all my training when I was here in Malaysia, all my coaches, they were all funded by the Sports Council of Malaysia and also the Ministry of Sport. So everything was being funded by them. When I was abroad in Amsterdam, I had my funding to compete for Malaysia. So everything was looked after with travel, with training, and also my coaches, my assistants with my sports therapists, like physios, sports psychologists, all these people, all my support team that was funded. So I was fully like, this is really like a great position to be around the world, not especially squash players don't get the same as what I did. So, and also our squash players are getting really good support too. So hence that's been amazing for me in my squash journey.
Um, w- Sorry if this sounds intrusive, but were you approached by them or did you approach them too for this support?
They no, they started to fund me since I was a
Ah,
junior. So when I was playing, they fully supported me when I was traveling overseas and I was doing things locally and then abroad. All these things they were funding me according to when I was performing, and then the more I performed, then the better support they gave me. So I'm truly thankful and grateful for their support.
so that's actually a good news for everyone who's trying to join in anything really.
Yes,
The better you get with something, naturally help just comes in.
yeah,
And
totally.
in line with that, do you have recommendations or suggestions for younger athletes who wants to join this sport but consider this to be a rather elite or expensive sport and they don't have the capital funds to do so?
With squash, I feel that they it's possible to join the sport. I know for a fact there's one part of it that is a little difficult in all parts of Malaysia, that is public access to squash courts, and I we hope that in the future there will be more squash courts that are publicly accessible to people in the state that can go there, and it's easier for students or kids to pick up the sport. But for now, I believe that it's still a sport that is not too hard to pick up because the access to tournaments, there are a lot of junior tournaments for kids to play. There's a lot of state like school events and state events, so that's happening a lot. But I think it's just a matter of just finding a place that can have a squash courts. I think that's our first big issue right now. But slowly or surely, we are gonna make sure we get more squash courts being built around Malaysia, and that we can have other students have access to it.
So just to lighten the mood because we've been delving into some serious topics.
Yeah. No, but I think somehow, no matter what, like any kid that wants to play squash, they're gonna find a way.
Yeah.
And I mean, 800 kids way to play squash in the whole of Malaysia. So there's always a way to find means to ask a friend, where do you get these classes, lessons. When you have an interest in anything, you're gonna make it happen. So that is what I feel, that any squash player and any kid that wants to play squash, they're gonna make it happen. And those parents out there will be wanting to find ways to get them in the squash court and get that racket going too.
Yeah. So with that in mind, we'll just change the tone of the session a bit and ask a rather
Perfect.
easy question. So
Okay.
Dato, how's life after retirement?
Oh, it's great. I'm enjoying every moment of retirement. I'm waking up in the morning not thinking that I have to train twice a day, 2 to 4 hours a day, and that my body cannot take it anymore. So that is a nice weight off my shoulders. But apart from that, since retirement, I've been enjoying the time to really set up my foundation, which is the Nicole David organization with my team, and it's to empower boys and girls through the values of sport and education, and using squash as the sport and also English as the subject to help more proficiency in English, help the proficiency in English in students in Malaysia. So that's gonna be very exciting, and it's still in the midst of um, putting it together. And that's why I'm back in Malaysia to finish off the final registration before everything kicks off, hopefully next year. So that's been one of the big things that I'm focusing on. And apart from that, I've been doing a lot of motivational talks and speaking online since the pandemic. It actually worked out really well for me that I was abroad and I could actually do everything online, work online, and so that has been very nice in terms of having to share my own experience, my story, and that people actually have great response from it and want to know more, or want to, and also feel like they can put that in place for themselves, aspire to be something more for themselves. So that's all I want to give, and that's been keeping me busy.
That's really great to hear because
Mm,
like you say you did like a lot of motivational talks, and it's great because like your story is your own power. So like
yeah.
when you tell story to others, you
Mm,
feel very encouraged and inspired by it, and you help to change lives, and that's really
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I want to try my best to do that little bit. And if someone actually picks it up and they feel that they
Mhm.
can do it too, that's all I want to do, is to help out and to give back in some
Yeah, that's really nice.
way.
So being an eighth-time World Open champion and regarded as the GOAT of the sport, what inspires you every time you step in the court?
For me, when I was playing squash and competing, I just wanted to get better. I want to see myself improve. And even though when I was world number one and I was world champion, at that point, I just knew that I couldn't stop there. It wasn't my place to just be there and think that everything's gonna come naturally. It gets harder because when you're number one, everybody is out to get you. You are the hunted, and even the coaches are finding ways to beat you. And you're always being under pressure all the time. And that point, I never thought of myself being number one. I was there thinking that I was number two, to gain that number one position. Every time I step on court, I want to improve myself to be better than myself before. And I wanted to just improve those small details and refine my game, refine my mind and my mental strength to get better. And if I do that, then I'll stay above the pack. So that was my sole goal, is to focus on improving myself and never feel comfortable at all.
That's nice to hear. So before I need to clarify something. The goat is not the animal, okay, guys? The goat is the greatest of all time. Just for the audience now.
Yeah, there's maybe some of our audience maybe some like had a little heart attack, like good, why is
Like,
he calling her to a good?
yeah, I don't have a tail growing out of me, so it's okay.
That would be
We're
shocking
all
for us if
safe.
you.
Yeah, it's all
Okay,
safe.
so our next question is like, do you sometimes miss the strict schedule of having to go to training all the time?
No, I don't miss it at all. And to be honest, I don't miss really the competition. Because I've done it all. I've done it for 20 years. I played the game and since I was a kid, and it was, for me, like, I've done it. I pushed my limit. I used everything I got, and now I'm ready to take on that next phase of my life, which is so much more interesting because it's all new and it's all an adventure for me. But my squash, I know I've given my best, and I enjoyed it and I savored those moments. But now it's the next phase of my life that I want to take on now. And so I don't miss those training days anymore. Even if I played squash today for a little bit, and I'm feeling my body right now, but I can't imagine myself going through that routine of training twice a day, 2 to 4 hours a day anymore. I don't miss it. That's for sure.
So of course those trainees definitely leave a strain on your body, right? Is there currently
Mm.
right now that you're feeling the after effects of those long years?
It was more definitely my body felt the hit, but more my mind. I think my mentally I was pretty exhausted in trying to keep strong mentally. Doing all my I've worked a lot with a sports psychologist, and learning how to keep my mind always sound, always clear, taking away all this negativity, making sure everything is like spot on, so that I'm in the squash court focus all the time and at my optimum performance state. And that takes a lot out of me. And when I finally told myself that it was time to let go of squash, and I finally retired, my mentally I just felt a weight shifted. My mind didn't have to take on that pressure anymore, that expectation from myself, from all everything that's around me, and I can finally go free, but then doing something else. So it keeps me more challenged, and I am loving what I'm experiencing right now.
Great, great. That's really nice. So, okay, so I go through your Instagram and I saw a lot of your
Okay.
posts regarding to working out, right? So do you have any
Ah.
workout that you always do whenever you like start you want to feel fresh, or do you have any workout tips and to give to the audience? Because like not all, because like some of us are watching for YouTube for tutorial, right? So is there any like some tips that from you yourself to give, like for those who wanted to be fit as you? Because like looking at your posts, your everything is just nice.
Well, for me, I think those posts was really for to encourage people to work out and to just keep active. It's so easy to not do anything, and I wanted to give people a chance to do some simple workouts that can be done in 10 minutes or maybe in 15 minutes, and it only takes that much time to just get the body moving, get your mind, get a little sweat, and then you feel a little fresher after that, just by that little bit of time spent working out. So that was my real aim for the few videos that I posted up. And the tips that I would give is just to, yeah, keep moving. Like if it's 20 seconds, whether it's like running on the spot, or doing an exercise, whether it's your upper body or or some squats, if you can keep it within 10 seconds to 20 seconds per set, and then you just do it and then give yourself that 20 seconds rest in between. If you can do that and try and reach between a 10-minute session, I think that's plenty. So just I hope that I will be hopefully doing a bit more of those workouts for everyone to give it a try, and see how your body takes on. But it won't be anything hard, but it's something for you that you can do. And if you want to increase the time, you can just keep doing more sets.
That's really nice to hear.
Interesting.
So Dato, I've heard somewhere that most athletes, they when we ask about their achievements, right, their what's their secret and all that, their first answer is that they were confident enough to do so. And then it got me thinking. So why then, if the first answer is our confidence, why do we emphasize on athletes' physical training and not their emotional training?
Well, good question. I think confidence comes from being physically ready and fit. So when they are already trained hard and they've already put the work in, you can go into a competition or a match and know that your body can last the whole duration of the competition. So that gives you confidence that you can push through the training, and in the competition you are ready to go. And but the emotional side, you have to work on it separately. So you have to do all the mental training that I kind of mentioned before, that either it's visualization techniques that I do for to prepare myself before competition, like a few weeks before. I do that every day to see myself going through the tactics, the strategy, the way I play, and even seeing myself with the trophy. Those things that makes you feel like you can get there, and it becomes a natural thing, and a daily practice for me. But and the emotional side, it comes with that. When your mind is sound, your body is ready, then emotionally your confidence will come through. So all these factors are all intertwined. If you focus on one, the other, and not the others, then it doesn't match. If you do just your mind, but you don't do any physical workout, doesn't match. So everything has to come together, especially for squash. It's not just one thing. You can't be just physically good and then tactically you're not that great. So all these factors are very important to be a good athlete.
Interesting. And
Mm,
follow up to that is that,
yeah.
did you ever have any emotional breakdowns or meltdowns that is specific to you throughout your entire sports career? Is there one example that you're like, you just want to give up right there and then?
In my match, I never fully had that moment of just wanting to give up, but I had a moment where when I was transitioning from being a junior into being a professional squash player, I played an event in the Asian Games, and I was, let's say, I was in 2002, so I was 18 years old, and I was expected to win that gold medal for Malaysia, but I went in and I lost in the finals quite badly, and it really hit me hard, and I had quite a low point, and but those moments was the point where I needed to just take a break from squash to really reevaluate what I want to do with my life, whether I want to keep pursuing with my squash career and push through and be good, I or not. So that was quite a big place to be, being so low. But I found that fire to play squash was burning very strong, and I wanted to be better. So that loss made the big step for me to take the leap of faith in wanting to be the best in the world. Because that when you go through those hard times is when you discover, or the things that you need to learn about yourself, more so than others. So sometimes when you are going, everything is nice and good, and you don't actually pay attention to what's happening, but when something hits you hard is when you really have to find out what's happening. And that's how I learned from that experience to made that biggest decision of my career, my life and my career, to move to Amsterdam to train with my coach Liz Irving there. And that was my transition from being a young junior squash player, mentally, physically, to becoming one of the greatest, in my career, and the greatest for myself.
I love to hear that story. So, Dato, you had said previously the commitment of bringing squash to the Olympics. Is it still in the plan? Is it still in the plan?
Well, the Olympics have been definitely in the plans for the longest time, and squash has really did all the campaigns possible to get into the games. But at this point of time, the Olympic Committee has changed their priorities many times, and they don't want to have squash. So at the end, it's really out of our hands, and we just have to focus on what we are doing, which is to build a sport and get squash bigger, better, and doing what they need to do there, but not trying to fit into this box that the Olympic Committee is putting together. And at the end, they always change. Even though we try to fit it in, they decide something else literally in the last minute. So right now, I don't see it happening anytime soon. If there is a chance that I need to support it, I would. But at this point of time, I think we have to just give it that it's not as appealing to get into the games. We just have to focus on the task and to build the squash globally and to build our sport the way it should be.
Interesting. So,
Mm.
Dato, along with that, is there a specific article that made you feel all kinds of emotions that stands out to you, whether it's proud or anger or sadness? Is there one news piece that makes you feel this is something that is going to stick with me for the whole time?
For me, I actually don't read the news during my career. I actually have made a point that anything that comes up during my squash, I don't read the news. My parents give me all the updates, but yeah, I never actually paid attention because there could be either a negative comment or positive comment, but it somehow plays an effect in the background without realizing, or subconsciously it can play a little effect in your mind, whether it's expectations for yourself or something that was not sitting right in your mind, and those things can play a factor in my concentration. And so I tend not to read all the news that actually comes out. So to answer your question, no, I don't have any articles that has made me a little sad, angry, or frustrated.
Okay, so Dato, we already talk about your achievement. We already
Mhm.
talk about all the sport stuff and about
Mhm.
your sports journey. So I have a question for you. So what is like the one unforgettable memory from your squash journey?
Um, One of my most unforgettable squash memory, I think, would be winning my first world title. To win that first world title when you are training so hard, you dream about it, everything is happening, and you finally make it to your ultimate goal and your dream, holding that trophy that you were dreaming for all your life, and it finally happens. That was that memorable moment that I would never forget. That I was speechless. I didn't know what to say, what to do. I was just thinking my dreams came true, and I'm here. I finally made it, and I think that will always be in my mind. Always, for sure.
Okay, so the other question, and that another light-hearted question.
Yeah.
um, Throughout your career, right, you went to many places in the world. Do you ever face a language problem, language barriers with other athletes?
No, actually, the squash tour has been a great place to really come as a community. Everybody speaks English really well. I think in the juniors, when we were traveling, everybody wants to learn different languages. So that was an opportunity to actually learn different languages at a young age, and then that was fun. And you start making friends, and that's how I learned a little bit growing up, but overall during the tour, it was never an issue. It was always very easy to make friends and communicate easily in English. So, yeah.
Great. So Dato, do you have any final thoughts or ideas or advice that you would like to convey to everyone who's watching right now?
Well, to everyone watching right now, I just want to say, like, all of us have something in us that we have abilities, we have our talents, we have our skills, and it's up to us to really discover it and make the most of what we have and give ourselves a chance to try and to take that first step, because that first step will have opportunities opening up for you. And as long as you stay true to your core and be firm with what you believe in, you will definitely go a long way by working hard and working towards your goals at the end of the day.
I love it. Okay, so great. We have a question, some questions actually for you,
Hmm.
and it's from the audience who is watching
Okay.
right now on our YouTube and Facebook Live. So the first one comes from Shak from YouTube. So Shak
Okay.
said, Dato, what is your daily routine during your years of playing professional squash? Do you wake up early or have specific meals?
Well, I don't wake up too early, but early enough. I wake up around like 8 in the morning and try to get myself organized in the morning with some breakfast, and I start training not before 9 with squash. I always train at least about 9:30, 10, because that's when I function better. So my coach always makes sure I train around 10 o'clock to be safe. And then I'll train for an hour and a half, and I'll have a break for lunch. And then I'll start training again, like either around 2 to 3 p.m. and then start another training session, whether it's another squash session or a physical session, which will be either the gym, uh, running around the track, being on court, doing movement workouts, or like condition training. All these things are under my physical training section. So I tend to break it up through the week. And in the evening, I have a little rest and eat my dinner. And that's about it, really. I just sit in the sofa, recover. Hopefully, I sleep early, and then I start the next day all over again.
Okay, nice. So I hope that answers your question. So next one, interesting question. This one. Okay, so Khadija asking from YouTube. So Khadija said, "What do you think about trans women competing in women's category in sports?"
Um, well, I think they go for it. I think they have come a long way, but I think they are going to have some guidelines on how we're gonna have that in place. So yeah, why not?
Short and sweet answer.
Yeah.
The next question from the audience is from Zulaika from YouTube. She says, "Hi Dato, how do you think we can improve the investment on women's sports in Malaysia?" I'm thinking she's either specifying about financial investment.
Finance.
Maybe?
Okay. I feel that there's more corporate companies coming in to support sport and making it known to even within their company, and also encouraging more people to pick up sports. So I believe that more corporate companies that came also to support me as well through sponsorships, and that helped me through my squash career. Those were definitely bonus to add on to my security in terms of doing better in my sport. So I believe in that sense that the more competition that happens within the country, and the more of our athletes are actually doing well abroad or within Malaysia, there will be more support coming commercially around, yeah, in different areas of the corporate world.
That's very interesting. So the
Mm,
next question from our audience is from Divya from Facebook. She
mm.
says, "Hi Dato, what is your hobby?" She's excited to know more about that. And where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
Well, my hobbies are drawing and dancing. So those are my two, and eating. I like to eat. So yeah, those are my hobbies, and my what do I see myself in 10 years time? I would still be speaking very firmly to advocate women and also the youth and sport. I would like to use my platform with the foundation that I'm putting together. And in the 10 years' time, I would love to see the kids that come through the program, and that they would tell a story that, if it because of your the organization, the Nicole David organization, I have gained so much confidence to pursue my dreams, and what they are doing in their own future in that 10 years. So I think that will be my ultimate like dream, to see myself hearing all these stories, and then also traveling the world. I think if by 10 years time, I'll be happily doing my travels without having a squash record, which is nice.
Love to hear that. So Dato, how do you see the sustainability of academics in Malaysia to create more capable sports athletes?
Sorry, I didn't hear you again. Could you repeat that?
How do you see the sustainability of academies
Okay.
in Malaysia to create more capable sport athletes?
I believe we have very good academies also within the national umbrella, and also within the states. I think it's just a matter of just combining the two with from schools to with the states and the national bodies to then like make sure that they come from the ground up. So it has to start from schools, and with the school programs encouraging more sports or in their co-curricular activities, I hope that that can encourage them to be in the academies more easily, and then more academies can actually take on more kids to build and grow from the grassroots.
That's nice. So Datuk,
Mm.
next is from, oh, it's Divya again from Facebook. I'm pretty sure she's your biggest fan ever. So she asked again, hello Datuk, just curious, have you come across discouragement at any point of your career? If yes, how do you deal with it?
I never fully got discouragement from anyone. I was surrounded by good, positive people, and I created with my coach a support team that are all very positive. They have a good energy, and if my team and I, we are all in that good state, anything outside like discouragement or people talking are all just noise, that you just want to just block them and not really think about it. But if you are surrounded by a good um, group of people, and also even my family who always brought me up in a very loving and positive environment, I think that's all you need. And anything else around you, whether it's the things that are bad or they discourage you to do anything you want to do, you have to listen to the core people that is around you, whether it's your family or the support team and my friends that keep me in my place.
Okay, so Datuk, I'm just
Mhm.
curious about something. So, do you have any favorite sports movies or documentaries that you can recommend? And what's the synopsis of the movies or documentaries that you watch about it? Because like you want to like we need a good recommendation of sports movies, right? So I believe maybe you have some to share with us.
Well, I love sports movies, and I do like one that's called Cool Runnings. Cool Runnings is a Jamaican bobsled team that actually joined the Winter Olympics for the first time, and it's so much fun, and it's very inspiring to see like a team from Jamaica actually training to be in the Winter Olympics, which they don't have any snow. They are an island, they islanders, so it's something that I always love watching. It's called Cool Runnings, and the other one is Invictus. It's the teams from South Africa during the apartheid, and it's just interesting feel of how that everything that sport really unites a nation, and with the rugby team there, and it was done really well. The story was really well put together.
Okay, so okay, we all know that you are the
Mhm.
legend. You are the one and only our squash player. So other than the squash, what other sports that you play? Or maybe you're good at that we don't know about it?
Well, I used to play some volleyball, basketball, athletics, and swimming when I was in school. So I didn't just play squash. Squash was my first sport, but I played a lot of other things when I was in school. But I wasn't as good as I was in squash, so I just kept to just playing squash, and the rest had to take a second fiddle.
So I think we're about to reach the end, and we have
All
two
right,
more questions left. The
all
first
right.
question is just a follow-up for Divya's question, who is really interested to know about your hobbies. And you
Okay,
mentioned you
okay,
like to draw. What
yeah.
kind of drawings do you do specifically? What mediums do you like? Do you prefer digital or traditional drawings?
I'm very traditional, and I'm on pencil and paper. I do a lot of sketches. I also like to doodle when I'm traveling and I have time that I can just put things on a piece of paper. And I always carry my notebook with me that I can just put whatever that comes to me. And it's kind of like a little expression on paper without writing words. So I love drawing in that sense, and I like art. You know, my mom is a art teacher, and I think that's where I got that art inspiration from. And I just like different kind of design, whether it's interior design, whether it's designs of buildings, furniture, whatever you call it. I just love design and how it's being put together. So when I travel around the world, it's nice to see, go to art like galleries to see different buildings, to see different cultures, and that's how I get inspired.
Yeah, that's really nice to hear, especially when you
Mm.
live in Penang and you see all of these old colonial buildings. It just really gets your art tickles fancy.
Yes, yes, exactly. So nice.
Okay, so our last question from the
Mm.
audience is from Yusuf and from YouTube. He asked, "I have young kids. How shall Yusuf educate them and at the same time believe in their talent?"
Well, for parents, I feel like they just have to expose their kids to different things, you know, and your kids will know what they want and what they like to do, and when they are doing these different activities, whether it's sport, whether it's music, whether it's whatever they want to do, they will pick and choose what they like. But also when they are with their friends, they will sometimes get more interested when their friends are there, so they're hanging out and they are doing it together. So I think that could be like a nice place to start. Not really like obviously forcing them to do things, but giving them a chance to just explore it with their friends, and then they do it together, they have fun, and then they realize it's actually they're actually pretty good. Then that's how the they gain that little interest a little more, and then they see, oh, I'm really actually very very good, and that's how it develops. So just being parents, just be caring, just give them that support and love that they need, and that's all they want. I think that's the bottom line, is you are there to be there by their side, and to give them that the tools to pursue whatever they want for themselves.
Yes,
That's really
exactly.
lovely.
Yeah, when Dato mentioned about parents needing to hear their children, especially athletes, right? I think it's important that we don't forget that they are children at the end of the day, and we don't need to force them until they burn out, and that's going to burn a lot of future potential actually.
Mm,
So
yes.
I think we're nearing our end. So that's all
Uh,
for the Q&A session. And thank you again for the questions from our audience. Thank you for participating, and hope you have learned one or two things from Datuk Nicol David.
Thanks for
So
all
our
the questions.
conversation has now come to an end. We would like to thank our guest speaker, Datuk Nicol Ann David herself, for all the sharing and knowledge given. We hope Datuk will continue supporting NALS in inspiring many young souls out there.
Well, thanks so much, Isa and Alice, and so nice to be sharing all of you today. And have a good time, and congratulations on the whole month of this coffee talk.
Thank you, Dato. And on behalf of
Thank
the
you so much.
committee, we hope this event will be an enjoyable and memorable moment for all of you watching, and that women will continue to leave an imprint in your lives so that you get to enjoy the day as much as we have enjoyed organizing this event for you. Okay, before we end, a shout out of appreciation also applies to our sponsors for making this happen. Pertubuhan Kepimpinan Anak Muda Negeri Sembilan, PKAMNS. Now, I would like to leave you with